The important thing for me really is that I've taken over the majority controlling interest in the club from David and Graham, who took over I think about 18 months ago when David's father died, and I'm delighted to have done that. I've been talking to the lads for the last year or so, not initially intending to buy the club, but when matters got to the point where really someone needed to step in, I was quite happy to do so, and we managed to complete that transaction on Friday. It is important to know that David and Graham will be staying with the club. This is not an acquisition where I intend to make wholesale changes. And the rumours got out a couple of months ago that I was taking over the club, and I didn't make any changes at all during the season, even though our results towards the end of the season were not as good as we'd have hoped for. I really didn't tamper, didn't do anything with the team, but now it's time to start making whatever changes we need to make. So Graham and David will be staying with the club. None of the other directors will be stepping down, and I'm pleased to say they're all excited about the future. I will be adding to the board and strengthening the board, but as you know with football you have to go through a fit and proper persons test, which I'm pleased to say I've been through. So somebody thinks I'm fit and proper, and there will be 2 or 3 new directors joining the board in the next few weeks. And when we can announce their names, we'll tell you who they are and what role they're going to take. But you're aware that in a club like this we need to boost community development, we need to boost commercial development, and of course we want to develop very strongly our junior aspect of the club. I see there, in this club, I see there being teams from under 8 all the way up to the first team, ladies teams, disadvantaged teams. I'd like to make this a real community football club, and ultimately I'd like to see the club, the company, become a community interest company. I just see myself as a guardian of a football club, looking after it for the community, for Corby as a town, not for personal gain for Kevin Ingram and his family. And I'm looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to that challenge. So it's probably best if you guys just fire away with your questions, and I'll try and answer as best I can. Who wants to go first? It's got to be ladies, isn't it?
Oh, okay, I'll ask a question first. How do you see you working with the Supporters Trust that's just launched?
I haven't yet met anybody from the Supporters Trust. I know that they had a meeting, I think about 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, to formally emerge as a body, as an entity. And I'm looking forward to working with them. You know, given what I've just said about wanting to work with the community, if I didn't want to work with the Supporters Trust, I'd be foolish. Yeah. And I do want to work with them. I'd like to meet a representation of that group really as soon as possible, and I know that Robbie Dunyan, a local guy who's been very associated with the club, is one of the driving forces there, and I look forward to seeing Robbie very soon. And I think there's a place, very much a place in at the top table for somebody from the trust. So positive.
Mm-hmm.
As far as the football goes, obviously last season and probably the season before that saw Corby in contention for possibly playoff places in the first half of both seasons, and then obviously budget cuts and everything like that played a part in them just surviving in the end. What are your hopes for next season and seasons to come? I mean, do you think the club's at its natural level, or can you see it advancing further?
There's one key word in my mantra when it comes to this football club in this town, and that's sustainability. I want to really stabilise, remove volatility, and provide sustainability for all areas of the club, whether it be on the field, off the field, and with other parts of elements within the club. So really I'm not going to comment on whether I want the club to gain promotion this year or make the playoffs this year, or challenge what Mr. Abramovich has done at Chelsea last week. That would be foolish. I'm going to let the manager do that when you meet the manager, and I'm sure in the coming weeks he'll talk to you about the aims and objectives of the club. But what I do believe is that Corby as a town is passionate about football. That's obvious. I can see that just having been around for a few months. And I'd like to give them a brand of football that's exciting, that is a customer experience, And in a way, the manager we've appointed should be able to do that. And I'm very hopeful that he'll be able to do that. So I want people to come to Corby Town, watch a brand of football that is exciting, but also played at a good level and can take us up the leagues. There's no reason why we can't have a Conference Premier team here and even a Football League team here. There's enough support from the community, from the council, from people like yourselves, and certainly the talent is available given the management team that we've appointed, and I keep referring to. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, definitely. What about the fan base? Because there's obviously a hardcore of supporters already. It's a huge town that might not, for some reason, aren't tempted enough to come and have a look. What will you do to try and get those fans? Because there are loads of football fans in Corby. What can you do to get them on board and get the attendances up to the level that you'll probably be seeking?
Yeah, one of the problems that I've only come across in the last couple of weeks is that half the town rushes off to Glasgow every other week. And as fabulous a town as Glasgow is, city of culture 2 or 3 years ago, a football team that's done well for many, many years, why not? But if we can build a football team within a football club that is starting to achieve what the potential for this town is, then I would hope that one or two of them will say, let's not go to Glasgow Rangers this week, let's pop down to Corby Town. And once we get them here and get them coming back, seeing a football team that is performing and winning and giving them a sense of enjoyment and pride, then I think we might keep them.
You've been involved in football at the championship level before, or
Nope.
No?
Never been in football apart from playing as a lad to a reasonable standard up to at schoolboy level. No, I haven't been involved in football at all. I used to be a part owner of the Leicester Riders Basketball Club a long time ago. Probably 20 years ago I stopped my involvement there, and that's when Leicester were a very successful team. Primarily, this is going to be rather embarrassing, I'm a Leicester Tigers fan, and I will be at Twickenham this Saturday to support Leicester Tigers in the playoff final for the 8th consecutive year. But clearly next season is going to be a bit different because I'm going to be watching a lot of football games and try and weave that in with the rugby matches. So no, the answer is no, I've not been a lifelong football man.
So what's made you take this decision? Because you said, today rugby's your first.
Good question.
Interest.
It's a good question, and you can imagine I've been asked that question a lot over the last few weeks. It's Corby. It's the town of Corby, and it's almost tough to explain why. But in the last 18 months, I've been doing some work with some companies here in Corby, and I've learned about what's happening within the Corby to town in Northamptonshire and the locality, and its future is very exciting. It's very exciting, and I think it's a unique opportunity because, to put it mildly, Corby's coming from a very long way behind and has got a very long way to go. I see that as an opportunity. If you go to a Milton Keynes, and Milton Keynes as a town is, and don't read into that I'm looking to buy Milton Keynes Football Club, because I'm not. But Milton Keynes has already come from nowhere to somewhere. It's not got much further that it can potentially go. Corby has got miles. It's got so much in front of it. The town's starting to grow, the population's starting to grow, its image is starting to improve, and there's a number of organisations that have already done a lot of good work in the town. You've got the new queue, the new swimming pool, a lot of new buildings coming up, a lot of new development, companies moving into Corby, infrastructure's improving, the road network's improving, new railway station. Exciting times ahead, I think, for Corby. The Queen's coming to Corby this year. That's an exciting opportunity. I'd like to think that you should come and see us here at Corby Town. Maybe you should send an invite to her, Chris. Does that give you the answer you're looking for? Yeah.
Yes, but is it like you've kind of, so you're seeing it as obviously it has to be a commercial opportunity for you ultimately? Yeah.
Commercially, yes, but commercially only from the club's perspective.
Yes.
Not, as I say, for personal corporate gain. If the club is to grow, and as the club is to grow through the leagues, clearly our cost base is going to increase. It's going to dramatically increase, particularly if we have aspirations to make the Football League. We will have to become a full-time club. Today we're a part-time club, and we will remain a part-time club in the foreseeable future. But I'm sure the manager, if he takes us into the next notch above, the next couple of years, he's going to have a full-time team, because I don't think you can compete without a full-time squad.
So you see it as a long-term, you're
Absolutely.
talking as if it's a long-term involvement in...
It has to be a long-term commitment, a long-term investment. But what's important about that is that we need to lay the foundations now, this year. We need to do things properly. We need to do things on a transparent basis. We need to do things on an ethical basis, a moral basis, on a supportive basis, a collective basis. We need to gain, and well, I say gain, we need to continue the relationships we have with the Borough Council. Norman Stronach is the new Chief Executive of the Borough. He and his team have been fantastically supportive. We have this wonderful new facility here, which was awarded the best new ground in the conference this past season. Fabulous award, and it's a lovely facility. We've got more work to do with the facility. There's a pavilion building at the end of the stadium, as you know, that we want to improve. We've got the option to build more stands as the crowds grow, and together we can do this.
But how will you judge your role? You've been had a successful role in this. Will it be trophies in the cabinet, or will it be, you've got 100 children turning up to play football every week?
Do you know what? That's a very good question. Inevitably, if we want to climb through the leagues, we will have to finish at the top of the league, so trophies will come as a byproduct. But being a sustainable club that is not looking to cut its squad every January when we can't afford to get to the end of the season, again, the word sustainability. So staying in business, being sustainable, being sensible, being realistic, all the good words, applying really, really strong governance to the organisation is a very important part of life here at Corby from now on. And we'll cut our cloth to suit. The budget we will set for next year will be realistic, sensible. It will be less than we set at the beginning of last year, but more than we finished this current season. So, sensible and realistic.
So will it mean trophies and
I hope so.
Yeah.
I hope so. Nothing would give me greater pride.
Yeah.
But equally, nothing would give me greater pride than seeing 2,500 people out there every week, and seeing lots of children. One of the things we're going to do is we're not going to charge admission for under 16s this coming season. That's one of my key 10 points. Under 16s will not pay. They're welcome into this ground for free. Hopefully they'll bring their mums and dads, who will have to pay. But the admission price of mums and dads this year will be £10. Last year it was £11. So we're lowering the admission price. We'll lower the season ticket price. I'm not quite sure that we've agreed what that season ticket price will be, but the prices will be lower than last year. We're also launching a new corporate ticket to the corporate community, which will give companies access to every league game here at Corby Town, plus all 10 motor racing fixtures at the Rockingham Raceway. And that's going to be £250. If you think about that, that's a really good opportunity. All 10 Rockingham Raceway events and all Corby Town home league games for £250. That's a remarkable offering. So please print that. And that's the sort of thing that will help us. In fact, we could have 500 children out there every week, under 16, boys and girls, fantastic.
Yeah. And presumably the homegrown talent as well, that's where...
I think it's important, and then one of the things we want to do is develop the youth structure, the junior structure within the club. Martin Harris, who's been the director of the club for the last year or so, has just stepped up to the new role of Director of Football Operations. Not Director of Football, don't misunderstand that. So he's Director of Football Operations, and his remit is to work with the management team in the first team. There might well be a reserve team. We will certainly continue with the very successful under-19 teams that, as you know, got to the FA Youth Cup quarter-final against Manchester City. And we want to develop a pyramid of teams below that. and so that development starts where it's supposed to begin and finish ultimately in the first team. We have 1 or 2 players in the first team squad at the moment from last season. That's not enough. You know, there really ought to be 4 or 5 from certainly from the Corby area, the Northamptonshire area. That would just, again, would be the right thing to do. We don't really want to be bringing players in at this level from the north of England and the south of England and the southwest, and neither can we afford to do so.
You say all the different areas you've discussed, what would you say your single biggest challenge is going to be? Is it going to be an off the pitch challenge or an on the pitch challenge?
I think off the pitch is a bigger challenge in the short term. While we build the foundations and put a platform in place for growth and sustainability, the sort of phrases that I would use in a corporate environment, not necessarily a football environment, those are the right things to do for this club. You know, we want to do things the right way. We've been relatively confidential about me taking over the club over the last few weeks. Of course, the news leaked, but the way we've gone about it has been very professional, very confidential. The way we've gone about recruiting the new manager has been very professional and very confidential, and that's the way we'll continue our business. But when we've got something to say, we'll invite you guys in and we'll talk to you about it. We're very open about it. No question is off limits to you guys, because we want you guys to report on Corby Town more and more and more. Keep going, I can keep you here till midnight.
Who's the new manager?
We're 10 minutes away, and I'll tell you in 10 minutes' time.
What my apologies, because I should know, but what is your background?
I'm a marketing communications man. I've run businesses for the last 25 years, running corporate incentive programs, reward and recognition programs, conferences, board meetings, car launches for big corporate companies that you know.
Is that how you tie in with Rockingham as well?
No, it's not how I tie into Rockingham, but I was introduced to the owners of Rockingham through my day job.
Right, yes.
As they say, yeah.
And how are you going to split your day job now? Like, have you sort of...
By putting a platform in place with the right people doing what they're supposed to do. So we'll break it down, we'll divide and conquer. You've all known Chris for the last year or so. You know, Chris will be responsible for all marketing communications, media, PR within the club. But Chris will now have a couple of lieutenants at a very senior level that have worked in this arena for years and years. So we'll give Chris some support from experienced people. David and Graham will have different roles. Ian Hopewell will have a different role. There'll be a number of associate directors joining the board structure who will add to what we need to do. And which, you know, there's no way that I can take on this role and do all the work that needs to be done. And that's how we plan to do it, really. There haven't been enough hands at the club, and we need to put that platform, those foundations in place.
So did you say you've drawn up a 10-point kind of wish plan?
It's not a 10. It's I've got sort of 10 points really that I call my initial target list, and I'll happily take you through them if you wish. But I mean, you can. I'm sure you can. The guys have this, Chris.
Yeah. Management team is here, so it's,
right. Okay.
If we run through the 10-point plan, then I can introduce them at that point.
I mean, I've already talked about sustainability, and that is, as I said before, it's about stabilising the finances, cutting out the volatility of the previous years. We cannot be in this position every year where the club rocks from positive to negative. It has to cut budgets. We need a budget that is sustainable and will take us through the season. Community, talked about the supporters trust. Very important. We've got to work with the supporters. I can see from coming to games that there was a core group of supporters that love this club through thick and thin, probably like every football club. We need to turn that from 50 to 100 to 200 to 1,000 and onwards and upwards. Development of all the youth and junior teams I've already talked about, critical. Local businesses, haven't talked about that. We have got to engage and give the local corporate community something to talk about. something to be proud of, and something to invest in. You know, we want them investing in this club through all the offerings that we're going to be providing. The new sponsorship prospectus comes out next week, and we will be going to the local community, and we hope that they will want to support us along with everybody else. The customer experience, for me, is one of my 10 key points. You know, I've been to football games, and you come through the gate, and it's drudge. Not necessarily here, but you go to football clubs around the country, and there's just too much that's not exciting enough. It needs to be showtime from the moment you come through the gate to the moment you leave. Even if we lose, it needs to be a positive experience. So a customer experience journey is critical to what we're talking about. Stronger links with schools and colleges through academies and youth teams. Already talked about that. Again, we want to work with the schools and get those here. Forging stronger links with the Borough Council, very, very important. As I say, the council own the facilities here. We want to work with them to develop those facilities over the next few years, so that we keep you proud of what we have. The ground itself is very nice now, but when we can develop the pavilion and further facilities, I think it could be even better. And there's no reason why we can't turn what's called the Rockingham Triangle here into a centre of excellence for sport. There's an athletics club here that's pretty well renowned, got lots of members. I gather there's a really good boxing club in Corby that are looking for new facilities. Let's work on it together. Let's work on it as a community. We'll do that with Norman Stronach and his team. Clearly, at the end of the day, we've got to build a highly motivated and successful football team that can become the ambassadors for Corby. What would give me a sense of pride, a great sense of pride, is if every function in Corby, every gala, every fete, every awards evening, somebody said, can we please get a Corby Town football player to present the awards? I'm not sure that's been the case the last couple of years. I've had a letter today from the Corby Business Academy from the principal there asking me if I can attend and present some awards, or someone else from the club can present some awards. If we have a public profile and people want us to be at their events, it means we're doing something well. So that's very positive. And the last thing is, and this is really important to me, is that whilst we're here to run a football team, we need to have some fun. If I have fun, I think the supporters will have fun. I think the players will have fun. And they won't walk around with their heads down even though we're losing 5-0 in the last league game of the season. Let's have some fun doing what we're doing. And even when you guys come here and talk to me, or you come and talk to the new managers and players in the future, let's have some fun doing it together. And let's break the mould. Let's do it a little bit differently. So, any more questions, or should we wheel in the people you really want to talk to?